Welcome to Affiliate Nerd Out. I am your nerderator, Dustin House. Spreading that good word about affiliate marketing. You're going to find me here every Tuesday and Thursday at 12:15 Pacific time. So put it on the calendar and join me. And my special guest of the day is Jonathan Green. He is the host of Artificial Intelligence Podcast. Welcome to the Nerdatorium, Jonathan.
Thank you for having me. It's one of my favorite places to hang out, just getting real deep in that nerdiness. I'm excited to be here.
I am excited to have you. We met a couple of months back at a mixer with Igor, and I instantly fell in love with your background. Just love what you've got going on here. It looks like you're doing a lot of music, a lot of taking photos, and it's just such an exciting background. How'd you come across that?
Just a hobby. So when you're a dad, I've got 4 kids, and you just pick and choose a hobby. So I mostly have just gotten into every type of thing you could do with lights at home, like programming yourself, programming a computer chip yourself, all that little stuff, mounting it, kind of putting together the parts. So like just doing
Yeah.
all that stuff has kind of become my hobby. So like for every light you see, there's like 5 that I have like put away that I'm not using today.
Yeah.
I move things around. I change the colors all the time. I'm constantly doing it. And it's just like, it's a good hobby because it's not super expensive and it's a little bit crafty. And it's like fun and things look cool afterwards. So I'm always playing around with it. Some of my friends yesterday were like, wow, you look like a Twitch streamer now. And I was like, mission accomplished. Like that's what I'm looking for. So yeah. And the thing is like, I think it's important to like create a presentation. Like sometimes I'm watching the news and they're talking to someone who's like that owns a huge company and they're calling in from like the worst laptop and they have like the worst webcam and haven't done any lighting. And I'm like, it kind of shows like a lack of respect for the audience to me. Like to me as the customer, I'm like, I'm
Wow.
watching this show. You're rich, right? You can afford a webcam. Like it's one thing if it's like a homeless person, but they tend to have better audio than people than like really rich. They go, oh, I didn't think of doing an external microphone. I've never heard of headphones. Here's this echo, like all of this stuff that like I kind of think is really silly. So my job, especially here I'm on your show, is to create a good experience. I don't wear polo shirts all the time. I put this on. I dress up when I'm on a show
Sure.
because I want to show like a demonstration. Like, hey, I care because when I'm watching someone else, I want them to care about my experience.
That's such a good point, and we're not even into the like topic of what we're talking about today. But I just love the concept of I've had 100 of these conversations where I'm interviewing people and trying to pick their brain on their knowledge, and it really shows when you don't show up with like something that's ready for the game time. Like don't accept these kinds of interviews if you don't have that microphone ready. I want to hear that knowledge, but like you said, like a little bit of a respect thing sometimes. But
Yeah. I mean, I'm at work right now, and that's what's really important to me. Like, same thing when people on my show and they call in from like their phone and they go, hey, is this a video podcast? I'm like, every podcast is a video podcast now. So it's
it should
like,
be.
so I definitely think that like you want to put your best foot forward. You want to create a good impression and you want to create an asset you can use later. Like, what if you ask me a question and I give like a super good answer and I want to reuse that video clip? Like, last thing I want is for it to be like echoey sound like I'm on a submarine in the 50s. So it also gives value to me. So it's all kind of connected. But yeah, it's just part of my thing. And it's like when you get dressed up for work, it like puts you in that mode. Like when you think, okay, I'm on stage now, I put on the polo shirt, it helps me to be like a little more energetic and just like all about it. You know what I mean? Like I want to be excited to be here.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier in the episode, like you're talking about somebody not liking the art of your thumbnail for like videos. Is it going to get to a point where you're just it's going to be a cartoon for the whole episode for some of your guests like at some point?
Well, I don't know that I'll animate the whole video. Like that would be cool to do, but AI can't do that yet. Or
Okay.
you can, but it'd be very expensive because you have to
Ah,
pay per second of a video. And so a 30-minute thing is a lot of seconds. But I just like to make a thumbnail that doesn't look the same. A lot of people, when they do podcasts, they do a bunch in a row and they
yeah.
give every single show the same thumbnail themselves. So it's like, oh, great. You want me to use the exact same picture everyone else uses to ensure that no one thinks our episode is special. Like whether I'm a guest or the host, I want to create an episode that's unique, that's different. So if someone sees me on 10 different podcasts, I want them to see 10 completely different things. And a lot of people don't think that way. They give the same answers. They send you the questions they want you to ask, and they're always so boring. And that's not my philosophy. So for me, it's not about me, right? It's about whoever's watching the show, whether one person's watching or 10,000's watching, is like you want to give them a really great experience, a professional experience. And that's what I care about. But people always caught up in the wrong thing.
Hmm.
Like, oh, I really care about the picture in the thumbnail. Like, really, do you check that with every podcast, or I'm just the only one that sent you a link to it and you looked, right? Because I know my favorite is when everyone's like, oh, I'm going to share all the social clips. I'm like, don't tell me that because you're not. I know you're not because I looked at your Instagram and you've never shared a clip from you on someone else's podcast. And that's okay because nobody does it. I don't know why we all have to tell this lie to each other, because it would be really weird if someone's feed was just if every picture on my Instagram was just me in a different color polo next to this microphone doing the same thing. It's just I'm on a different show. That wouldn't be interesting because it would kill your social feed. I get that. So let's just be honest with each other and be like, I'm not going to share this too much. I'll repost a clip and things like that, but I'm not going to make my Instagram every podcast I've ever been on. No one's going to do that.
Yeah, if I ever make your podcast, and I just can't wait until I get imagined with a different kind of photo. I would love that. But speaking of off topic, like we've just spent the first 6 minutes of our podcast not talking about AI and talking about background. So let's jump into it. We've got live Q&A going on as usual. If you have any AI questions that you want to ask, drop them in here and Jonathan's going to give you his best shot at it. So if you'd like to be in Jonathan's seat, come to dustinhouse.com/nerd. And if you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, I've got a new QR code up here and make it easy. The question of the day for my audience here: what AI tools are you using for your work day? I'm going to drop that in the chat. Well, Jonathan, you explain. Who are you?
Sure. I'm just a guy who's passionate about AI. I have found that it's very natural for me. So I have this natural advantage that ChatGPT thinks the way I think. It answers the questions the way I expect it to, which means that I'm very good at training and kind of getting a result I want. Whereas for some people, it's a little bit unnatural. And so you feel like you're swimming up water. So my job is to really, and my passion is to take my experience and say, hey, here's a shortcut. Here's an easier way to do that. Especially like I know we're friends on LinkedIn, so you probably see the same stuff I do where people post these prompting guides that look like hieroglyphics. So like, hey, listen, here's my 7-part prompting guide. And it's the most complicated diagram sentence. I'm like, might as well put it in Latin. You want to make it seem like a religion, make it seem super hard. And that's not my philosophy. My philosophy is
Sure.
it can be easy because that's the promise of AI. The promise of AI is that it's going to make your life easier. Not,
Yeah.
oh, as soon as you learn Latin, it's easy. Like that's not the promise. So a lot of people teaching AI are going in an opposite direction of me, trying to make it super complicated. And I get it. It makes it seem like their knowledge is more valuable. It's like, oh, if this person's mastered this super complicated prompt, I can't wait for the 9-part prompt formula I can pay for. It's just not my school of thought, just not the way I like to approach things. And I want this to be a tool and this to be a set of tools that make people's lives easier and kind of give us all more freedom, more time spent with our families.
Awesome. And I think that's one of the reasons, I was attracted to you as like having you on the podcast is when we met at Igor's Mixer, like you have that capability of simplifying things, but not making me feel stupid about it, which I really love because you're so much next level on the AI than I am. But um, I've had one of my favorite compliments I think I've ever been given is that I can simplify really complicated things about affiliate marketing, so that the layman's can understand. And I feel like you have that same kind of power in the AI sense.
That's really the most important thing. A lot of people think, oh, you have to be an absolute expert and teach to the front of the room, like teach to the smartest. But if you ever look at any video on YouTube that's like intro to Photoshop, 10 million views, advanced Photoshop video, 14 views. Very few people are looking for the advanced content. Most
Yeah.
people are beginners. And that's really the best place to be because you can have like the biggest impact, kind of help the most people, the widest reach. And that's really what I love to do. I want to have that wide reach.
Awesome. So your podcast is artificial intelligence podcast. That's simple enough, but your company in itself is called Serve No Master. What's the name origin story here?
Yeah, I was looking for a new brand name that wasn't my name. So for a long time, I was like, oh, well, what if I want to exit? So this is a second kind of online business I built. And I was like, I don't want to. The first version was just called Jonathan Green, and it was jonathangreen.me. And I was like, this is stuck to me. So if I
Mm,
ever want to exit or if I ever need to exit the business, I can't because it's just my name. I don't want to resell my name. Like, oh, that's the fifth Dread Pirate Roberts. That's the fifth Jonathan Green. I don't want it to be like a James Bond, right? Like a name that's not a name. So I was trying a lot of different names and I was just sitting there trying to buy a domain and going through every idea I had and they were just taken, taken, taken. And then I remembered there's this Jet Li movie that no one's seen called
mm.
Unleashed. And it's the one where he's a dog and they keep him in a dog cage. And when they want him to fight someone, the owner, unbelievable, I know. This is absolutely real. There's a lot of stars in the movie. It's a crazy movie. And they'll unsnap his collar. And when the collar's off, he fights everyone. So if I want my dog to attack you, I take off the collar and he fights all the bad guys in the room. And then the owner puts the collar back on him and he stops fighting. He's docile. And the tagline for that movie is it's called Unleashed, Serve No Master.
Okay.
So I thought there's no way a 3 word's going to be available, right? 2016, I was like, there's no way this is available, but it's a cool movie. I like Jet Li. I love all of his movies. He's a blast. And over time, the search results have stopped being for that movie because it used to be me and Jet Li, me and
Yeah.
like 2 box covers. But that's where the idea came from. And of course, I really went along with it. And it also comes from there's this old saying from the Bible, which is you can't serve two masters. And a lot of people
Mm,
who I'm really trying to help are so busy serving their career because they think that there's a loyalty from your company. A lot of people found out over the last couple of years, oh, if it's you or the company is not going to watch out for you. It's not loyalty is not a two-way street at companies. It flows in one direction. So you can't watch out for yourself and watch out for your business. So you need to start watching out for yourself. So that's the two philosophies.
beautiful. Love the background on it, and it's purposeful. And I can't believe you got that URL as well. It's pretty nice. Um, okay, so what do you do and who are you serving out there?
Sure. The main people I help are small business owners, solopreneurs, and people that are trying to transition out of their career. Most of my audience is either 45 or 65. They've done 20 years in one career or they've done 2020. And they're going, I don't want to do a third one. I don't want to do another job 65 to 85. How can I take my knowledge and build a business that has passive revenue that makes money that kind of is an asset? So I'm not trading time for money or labor for money. I've worked with some people who have had amazing careers, but they're still doing hard physical work in their 70s, their 80s. And your body can't do that forever. You know, you can't drive trucks forever or be a farmer forever. Your body just can't do it. So that's a lot of who I work with. And it's really, especially in the past year, helping people to see that the barrier to entry to online business has now really gone down. Because when I started out, the things that took like a day now take a couple of minutes. So
Wow.
the amount of time, the technical knowledge you need is dropped through the floor because now you can build a website or a landing page in minutes, right? You can set up an automated webinar, which is a very complicated thing with timers and emails and all sorts of triggers in like 1 or 2 hours with no technical knowledge. When I started out, you had to start programming in C++ and then HTML and then learn a new programming language and connect it all together. It was really a nightmare. So things have gotten a lot easier. So there's a lot more opportunity for people to get out there, find their audience, and build a business. And I love that because a lot of people that were held back by the technical barrier, "Oh, I'm not very technical. Now you don't need to be. And AI just makes everything easier when you understand how it can be an amazing helper. So all those barriers that were there, they're now gone. And that's very exciting for me.
Awesome, awesome. And how did you get started in the AI space? Did this come to you? Do you have a background in something else?
So I just been an online entrepreneur for 10 years. My background is in applied linguistics. I was a linguistics teacher for 10 years around the world. And I look at processes and how things kind of go together. And I watched a lot of videos when ChatGPT got really hot. I've been using AI writing tools like a lot of people in our industry for a couple of years that were all okay. They were never good enough for prime time, but they were good for like creating a rough draft or creating the outline of a blog post, but never something you would publish. It was never good enough to put your name on. And then when ChatGPT 3.5 came out, you started to see, oh, some of this is good enough that you can really use it. It's very interesting. It's very dynamic. It's a whole jump, right? A huge generational leap in technology. And I watched all these people that are in my social circle and our friends, people we have in common who are teaching lessons. They go, ChatGPT can do A, but it can't do B. And I sat there going, no, I bet it can.
Hmm.
I bet I can do that. And I would try it and I would go, oh, they're wrong. They think it has a limitation, but there's a way around it. There's a way to navigate this river. They're asking the wrong question. And the second thing is they would go, oh, this takes 14 steps. And I'd go, I bet I can do it in 2.
Oh,
I'm always trying to create a process that does the entire task in one prompt. Like I want to ask one question, not 15 to get to the goal. So those two mindsets are really what drove me. And after a while, I started to realize that I'm way better than everyone else. And I said, I don't want to keep that to myself because originally I was just using it for myself. And wasn't putting out a lot of content about AI. I was just working on myself. And then I realized that most people in AI are either super hypey. They're like, hey, here's the coolest tool. This is exciting. This is going to rock your world. This video is going to be amazing. And it's like that direction, but it's exciting, but not useful. And the other direction is people that are super technical. And every video starts with, all right, fire up GitHub. And whenever I hear that, I get nervous, right? They're like, okay, we're going to take off all the security features on your computer because we have to go into the terminal. And that's really useful, but not exciting. And the problem with that is that most people will never do it, right? 99% of people, as soon as you say GitHub, they check out. They're like, no way. I don't want to do coding. I don't want to learn that. It's scary. That's not the direction I want to go in. Same thing. So I said, there's a space for me in the middle where I'll just teach what's useful. And in fact, when I put out my AI news of the week every week, I say AI news of the week in 20 minutes or less. I reject 1 to 200 AI related stories because they're not useful. I never cover AI video because AI video, you can't use it in your business. You could show me a 3-second clip. That's cool. I've never seen a 3-second commercial, right? They don't exist. So I need to marry together 10 clips that are all shaky and kind of give me a headache. I can't do it. When it's ready for prime time, I'll cover it. So people know I'm a source of, if it's useful, I'll tell you about it. If it's not useful, I won't tell you until it is. So really my job is more about what I don't say than what I do say. It's to keep out the stuff because there's so much news. It's easy to get overwhelmed. So I really try and screen that out. So that's the niche I've carved out for myself. All the AI that's useful and nothing else.
awesome. And the topic of the day is how to save an hour per day using AI. And you're talking about you're going to companies, that 45 to 65 genre of clientele and helping automate these processes. But there are a lot of business owners, affiliate managers in this that watch this program that are very interested in helping their day get better. And I thought a great start would be practical ways to utilize ChatGPT that you can explain for those folks out there.
Yeah. So you want to start with something that's going to move the needle for you. It's very tempting to go, oh, I want to learn this really cool thing, like how to make AI thumbnails. How many thumbnails you make in a week? One. Instead, you want to start with the boring. I buy a lot
Yep.
more toilet paper than I do radios. So in the same way, we want to look at what do you do every week that's at least 1 hour a day
Mhm.
that takes 80% of your focus or less. The kind of tasks you could do while the television's on. So this
Ooh.
might be responding to emails, especially for a large affiliate manager. It might just be database type stuff or just organizing your day, whatever that task is. That's what you want to replace with AI first, because that means you're going to get those 5 hours back. And always say this, instead of you giving me time, I'll give you the time first to then build your business and learn AI. So if you have an hour
Mm.
a day, that's 5 hours a week. You can really master any skill. That's a huge amount of time. So that's really what I start with. And then once you figure out the task you want to replace, then it's about designing the process. So for everyone watching the video, it's going to be a slightly different process. So that's why I like start high level. And then you just look at, and you can ask ChatGPT to do it for you. I'm going to give you the master prompt. I call this the master prompt. It's the one prompt to rule them all. It's very simple. Statement, question, 2 sentences. You say, this is the goal I want to accomplish. What information do you need from me? This is the goal I want to accomplish. How can we do this together? So something along those lines will always be slightly different. A very simple example is I'm trying to figure out who my customer avatar is. What information do you need from me? And ChatGPT will switch into interrogative mode. What happens
Mm.
is the way it's trained is that it never expects you to ask a second question. So it always has to answer the question in a single response. That's why if you say something dumb, it will never tell you because it doesn't have enough time. This is how people get caught with it lying to them because it's not allowed to believe that way, right? It's like, oh, I only have one chance to answer you. I have to give you the best answer I can, even though you've asked me a really bad version of the question. The second thing is that it's trained like a puppy dog to seek affirmation. Now, this is called -1, +1 in programming and the way it's programmed. Basically, at a full positive one is where you go, ChatGPT, I love you. You've changed my life. You're my best friend. And a negative one is, I hate you. You're the worst liar. I never want to work with you again. So it's programmed to always seek a positive affirmation,
Hmm.
meaning you've done a good job, even though it doesn't have actual feelings, but that's the way it's programmed to seek a positive affirmation and say, okay, this is how we're training you so that when people say you've done a good job, you'll continue to do more of whatever that behavior is. So that means that it will never tell you that you're wrong or that your question was stupid or that you've given it bad information. But when you switch and give it a question, you say, listen, if you need to give me multiple questions or multiple prompts back and forth, we're going to do that. Now it's allowed to do that. And you also switched it into genius mode. Now it will be smart and you can be dumb. Because normally you go, I have to write the perfect prompt with 7
Yeah.
layers, all the sentences. Now you don't have to because it will just ask you. It will say, okay, what's the name of your product? Who's your product for? How many customers do you have? What does it cost? And it will just ask you all the questions one by one. Now you don't have to be smart and you don't have to remember, right? What are the 7 different parts of a customer avatar? You don't have to remember any of that stuff because ChatGPT never forgets the checklist and it will work through it for you. Same
Nice.
thing when I'm trying to create a really complicated prompt. I go, oh, I want to create a prompt that does this. Okay, let's work through the process. So my most advanced prompts that I sell for thousands of dollars, I designed them using the exact same starting question. This is my goal, question, and then a question mark question. That's it.
Awesome. So those are the staples. I've the moment that I learned that I wasn't asking the right questions and I wasn't prompting ChatGPT in the right way was about a year ago, and that was eye opening to me. And through the time you've been developing these master prompts, um, what seems to be like you mentioned that the machine doesn't have feelings. When did you realize that maybe they do have feelings, and like and being nice to them is actually helpful?
So I experiment with things a lot. So I try to see if I am nice, how does it act differently? And first, you're
Okay.
like, well, just in case the thing's going to turn sentient, I want to be one of the ones that was nice, right? Like that's my first thought. And as I was playing around with it, I just started to notice that when you say something positive, it will say something positive back. And there have been a lot of studies now since I kind of noticed this. Like there was a study that shows if you say, oh, it's urgent, you'll get a better response than if you don't. So if you say, I have a paper due today, it will give you a better response than if you don't say that. So there's a lot of things about it that are interesting. That's because the way we think, like we're the parents training the AI, so our behavior is leaked into it.
Mhm.
So that's really, and I kind of thought what really happened for me was I was asking for a specific type of story. Can't remember exactly what it was. I was working on a project with a client who's a dating coach, a lady dating coach, and it was I was looking for a story like to back up a claim, and it was something about um oh, you saw a red flag in a guy and ignored it, and then later on the relationship got bad. So I asked ChatGPT for news stories where that happened, and it gave me all these news stories. And I said, "Oh my gosh, this is a crazy." He told me this crazy story, and I go, "Oh my gosh, can you give me the links to the story where these happened?" And all of the links were 404s.
Oh.
And my first thought was like, "Whoa, someone spent a lot of money to get all these links deleted." My
Oh.
first assumption was that someone had to scrub something from the internet. But then I noticed every single time I would do this, same thing would happen. It would always give me links that always led to 404. So there's this old saying from Reagan, trust but verify, right? Believe someone, but also double check it. So I noticed, I go, oh, ChatGPT is lying to me. Why is it lying to me? Oh my gosh,
Okay.
this is what my kids would do. So that's when I really noticed that experience. And a few months later, of course, it started happening to other people. That's when a lawyer got in trouble because he said, oh, I need this. So whenever you put your thumb on the scale when you're asking the question, if you say, ChatGPT, give me proof that this happened,
Ah.
that's when it will lie to you because it has to give you proof because that's you've commanded it. The proof doesn't exist. What would happen? It's the same thing that I say to my son, like, hey, where's your sister's doll? He goes, I have no idea. But if I were a guessing man, I would say it's under the nanny's bed in that other room that I'm not supposed to go into. So You don't admit guilt. You never admit you're guilty, but you'll give the hint. And in the same way, that's the way it's designed. So it's not going to tell you, oh, those don't exist. It's not allowed to because it's always seeking affirmation. And it only is allowed to give you one answer. So if it just says, oh, that doesn't exist, well, now it's not satisfied you. And since it's only allowed to answer you once, that's why it will never do that. They've tried to train that out of it, and maybe that will happen with the next iteration. But right now, that's still in there.
Okay, good to go. That's very interesting. So, verifying information is a big part of utilizing this product. So, when you said think of a instance where you spend some time, but you only need like 80% of or 20% of your attention, whatever it may be. What are those tasks? The first thing that comes to mind for affiliate managers in my head is applications. So, what happens in affiliate programs is every day as an affiliate manager, you come in and you check all these applications of people trying to get into your affiliate program. Bigger your program is, the more their applications are coming. And these affiliates out there are training AI to go try to sign up for thousands of affiliate programs a day and
Right.
just beating it up. So can we turn the tables? Can an affiliate manager train ChatGPT to go through these applications in the right format?
Yeah. If the best thing you can do is set up a system to where the applications all get added to a Google Sheet. So each line is the next application. And ChatGPT can directly hook into a Google Sheet and it will just go through and in seconds just go yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no for you because you can then give it the criteria. And you don't have to train it by programming. You can just say, here's the last 100 applications and whether I said yes or no.
Okay.
So it will look at that and parse the data and figure out what your criteria is. And you say, to give each one a yes, no. And if you're not sure, or if it's in the middle, just give it a maybe, and I'll do those manually. If you do that process, it can scan like 1,000 applications in 10 minutes, something like that.
Oh, we might be onto something. This is everybody. I asked this question to 100 different affiliate managers of like, what's your biggest hurdle throughout the day? And they're like, this application process is driving me insane. This is a very simple and quick answer to that you guys can be going and trying out there. So awesome. Thank you for that. So for the clients that you're taking on, uh, what is your process? Somebody comes to you and says, I want to automate this. Like, what are your steps that you take with them?
So the first thing I do is I ask a similar question. I say, what's the thing that you do every week that's the most boring or takes up time? The second thing I ask is when you're paying your employees, which is the one that annoys you the most when you have to pay them?
Hmm.
That's what we're going to work on first. We're going to work on that employee's tasks, right? We all have that.
Okay.
We all have we all have a favorite employee and we all have a least favorite
It's
employee.
funny.
We don't want them to know that's them, but it is. So that's what I like to start with because then it's a big win. The other thing I look at is what's your tech stack? What tools are you using? When did you sign up for the tools? What's your process? And then I'll ask a question like, okay, if we can, which of these areas of your business would make the biggest difference if we could make an improvement? Marketing, and I'll have, depending on the business, I'll ask questions. It'd be like marketing, traffic generation, sales conversion, email whatever it is, right? Social media, right? And then I'll ask that same question a couple of times to narrow it down and go, okay, so your biggest issue is managing your Twitter. Let's work on that. And my job initially, especially because I charge a lot of money, is to lower your overhead. That's where I like to start. So if your overhead has gone up over the past year, you have a major problem and you probably have someone you need to fire. If your AI costs are high, someone is I'm just going to say up to something. I don't want to go too far across the
All
bow,
right.
but if my overhead in the past year has gone down 90%. So if you're experiencing anything other than that, you have a major problem. So here's why. ChatGPT entered the AI market and what do they charge? $20 a month. They don't have a second plan. They don't have a higher price plan. They don't charge anything up beyond that. Why is that? There's a second market in the open source AIs. ChatGPT 3.5 is not the best free AI. It's not even in the top 20 or 50. It was like 8 months ago. Since then, free open source AIs developed by regular people have beaten it in every single category.
Hmm.
ChatGPT 4 is better than the free versions. But what happens is there's a certain price at which you go, you know what? The inconvenience of installing an open source AI is worth the savings. So if ChatGPT would raise their price, and I don't know the number, at $100 a month for sure, everyone would switch to the open source. somewhere between 20 and 100 is a number where they would start to lose massive market share, and it would become open source to become the king. Okay. So that means they have a downward pressure on them, the same downward pressure that ChatGPT's pricing is putting on everyone else. Because what happened when Perplexity offered a pro plan? $20 a month. What happened when Stable Diffusion said, hey, we're offering a pro tier, $20 a month? You won't see any primary AI company with a plan above $20 a month because of this pressure from OpenAI. And OpenAI is there because the open source market is putting downward pressure on them. If like I had a Jasper account 2 years ago, it was like $150 a month. My stock photo site subscription was like $150 a month. Now I have unlimited image generation. I'm paying $12 a month. That's a 90% decrease. And I can make my images look like me or anyone I want or anything that I want. I can create the image. I don't have to look for it, which takes time. So those are some small areas. Automation has had a massive leap. The ability to write your own software using AI has had a massive leap. So sometimes you can create a small tool that solves a problem that's unique to your business. So there's a lot of things that have happened. So that's where I start. I say, listen, I'm going to save you this much per month. I'm going to save you $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 over the next year. You just pay me 25% of that in a lump sum when I set everything up and you see that your overhead has gone down. And who would say no to that? You know, it used to be with SEO and sales. You used to go, oh, you pay, I'm going to make you money in 6 months, but you pay me now off of hope. Instead, I can very easily say, no, you just pay me out of how much I'm going to save you. And that's an easy pitch. I don't have to do any fancy sales talk or overcome objections because I say, listen, I'll save you money first and then you pay me.
Fantastic. I love the model, and it's work. So there's no upfront fee to work with you. You're just working off a percentage of what you save the company.
I'm going to save you that money in the first month. Like I'm going to fix all of these problems in the first 30 days. And so that's when I go, let me show you exactly what's going to happen. Here's what it's going to cost. Here's the proof. And you're going to be experiencing that very quickly. So yeah, that's how it starts.
Amazing. Awesome. Switching gears a little bit, there is a confusion in the affiliate industry. Like when AI came out in the last couple of years, people were using it to create content at a faster click than ever. And there is a theory that that content doesn't belong to whoever wrote that ChatGPT script or like created that. Is that your opinion? Like who owns this content?
That's the opinion of the United States Supreme Court. So
okay.
That tends to be when I look at legal stuff, that tends to be whose opinion I look at. And there's a law that says AI cannot own copyright. Okay. Only humans can file patents and only humans can, or something. This has happened in art more than written stuff, but they've already gone to the Supreme Court with someone saying an AI made this painting and they go, yeah, well, that means no one owns it. So you can't drive the AI and then secondary, you can, only way you can own it is if the AI makes a picture and then you modify it, but then you only own the modifications. So that means you can go into, let's say, the Midjourney stream where you can see every image anyone's generated and you can use any of them. That's why people pay extra for a private feed because you don't own anything. Now, there are some gray areas. Like if you take an image from an AI and then you use it as your logo, right? And then you register it, well, then that's a different thing, right? Because you're not patenting it, you're registering it. That's the one area where you can kind of grab ownership. Other than that, though, yeah, anything written by AI, you don't really own. So they haven't figured it out for books yet. So I don't know if I write a book with AI and I put it on Amazon, you can't go and take that text and then upload it too, because Amazon doesn't want 2 copies of the same book on there. But I don't know what the future is going to hold. That one's going to go to court. There's a lot of people who are suing about book stuff right now, and we're going to see what the future holds. But yeah, if you have content written by AI, well, you don't own it. For sure, you don't own it. Like that's for sure. The question is, does anyone own it? The second thing, and this is very important, is that it's not going to last very long. A couple of people I know, they're teaching, oh, you could put a bunch of AI content and get traffic and Google won't notice. I promise you, Google's AI detection budget is greater than your AI sneaky budget. I doubt you're spending $100 billion this year on AI trickiness. Here's what's happening. They wait and do an update every 3 months or 6 months. So they're waiting for everyone who follows you to get into the gray hat zones, and they're going to mark all of you. And then what happens? They do an update. Like remember Penguin or all the different names, right? Penguin comes out, Banana comes out or whatever. What happens? A ton of people's websites get killed. What happened to Ezine articles? Then what happened to eHow? So certain websites that are like just crushing it, one day their entire business is gone. When's the last time you saw a search result for easy articles? 12 years ago, it was most of search results, right? Same thing will eventually
Mm.
happen to Reddit and LinkedIn and all the different platforms. For a while, a lot of search results are you, and then it disappears. So people are playing a little bit of a dangerous game. They're playing fast and loose. This is a misuse of AI. This is not what I teach. AI is not meant to replace you. It's meant to push you into management. You should never publish something that you have not read. If you have ChatGPT write a blog post and you publish it without reading it, you're putting your business in danger. There's a very good chance that ChatGPT will write something that is offensive or naughty because it happens.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
How fast did people gotten AIs to say things that are shockingly offensive or illegal, right? You're in a dangerous place and you can't use the excuse of, oh, ChatGPT did it. My dog ate my homework. We've already found out because people have used that excuse and no one buys it. So you put out a tweet that people misinterpret or that ChatGPT writes something tone deaf, that's on you. So you have to be careful. This is what I tell people. You have to maintain a level of ethics and you have to see it as a tool. It's like the Iron Man suit, right? Man plus the suit is where the power comes from. You don't want the suit to be autonomous. So people that are doing large volumes of content, it's a short-term play. And I've seen similar business models. I've been in this business a long time where people were making like these massive Facebook pages. And what happened? Facebook did a purge. Same thing is
Mm.
going to happen with all of this AI generated content. Facebook is already about to drop the hammer. They're about to release an algorithm that every single post on Facebook, every image will have a mark that says AI generated. So all
Ooh.
of that AI generated content, people are going to know. And every single person who's following you and you've tricked, they're not going to go, oh, wow, that's cool. They're going to go, I hate you. You tricked me. You're going to turn potential customers not into neutral. You're going to experience hate. There's no lesser feeling because the feeling people
Uh,
have for you when they think you tried to trick them or you did trick them for a little while, it's always hate because that's standard psychological ego protection thing. You don't want to admit you were tricked. Instead, you want to turn against the person who tried to trick you. So very dangerous game to play. I don't recommend it. That's why I don't like those tools. They're like, oh, this is a video and it will make every single person think you've recorded a custom video for them because it will insert their first name in the video. Very bad tool to use. I don't recommend that because that's trying to trick someone into thinking you made them a custom video and it will not work. Most people won't fall for it. And the ones who do, when they realize it's not real, they're going to hate you so much because those are the people that then go and leave a negative review on like 13 different websites, right? And then they create 3 different accounts and leave more negative reviews. You don't want to create that feeling in someone where they dedicate the rest of their life to your destruction. And that's what's going to happen to some people who are playing this dangerous game.
ah, the bots will turn against them as well. So, switching gears, like you have a really great piece of free content to go download. This is Chat GPT Profits. Go to servernomaster.com/gift. I'll drop the link in the chat, but tell us about what this download is.
Sure, this is my bestseller that you can buy it on Amazon. If you want to do that, pay me 25 bucks. Obviously, I will love you for that. And it's the manual that I wish ChatGPT had when I started out. So I wanted to create a book that had only prompts I'd used in my business. It's only prompts that made me money. Every time I'm prompting, it's in bold. And every time ChatGPT is talking, it's in italics. There's not a single sentence where you don't know if it's me talking to you, me talking to the AI, or the AI talking to me. If you get the audiobook, same thing. It's 3 voices. I hired an amazing lady who has 3 different accents. You know what you're hearing. There's no confusion because I saw all these other ChatGPT books and I realized, oh, a lot of these books have sketchy prompts in them that don't really work. They were written by ChatGPT, and you can't tell which sections are human generated, AI generated. And that's just not a cool way to do it because then you can't learn. So I wanted to create something that's the manual you wish it had. You don't have to read it front to back. You can jump to the chapters that are the skill you want to learn and start there and kind of jump around. And that way you just get really quickly to a result. You don't have to spend hours. You can have a result in 15 or 20 minutes.
Fabulous. Sounds easy. Easy enough. Go to serveryourmaster.com/gift for that. And now I want to turn our focus into something I found. Usually we have a segment here. It's called Defend Your Post, right? And I go in and I check out your LinkedIn, and I did not have to go far today to find out that you were messing around with AI as part of your day. And you figured out how to not be ugly anymore. This is amazing. I want to know more about this. Like, what did you do here?
Sure, there are a bunch of AI tools that are supposed to be image enhancers, and every time I upload my picture to one, it makes me 65, makes me look homeless, makes me look like I've been smoking for 40 years. They never even make me look I'm in my 40s. They never give me that. They always 60s. And it's like brutal. It's brutal. My kids walked in and saw me working with one of them and they just started laughing. So same thing, I use Midjourney all the time and I can upload your image to Midjourney and create a really great cartoon that looks like you. When I upload a picture of me, it's not just bad, it's hurtful. Like it just
For sure.
it comes out mean. So I found this amazing tool called Artflow. It's at artflow.ai. I upload 20 pictures of myself to train it, and now it creates a model that's my name. Now, whenever I'm using it, I just say my name and then a prompt, and it creates a version of me that's like a 10% better. So it's like 10% taller, 10% more muscular, 10% thinner. So it's enough that it's believable, right? It doesn't
Okay.
turn me into Arnold, like go crazy, but I've been testing it for the past week and I use it for all my thumbnails. You just saw a picture from it. That's not actually me running away from an exploding helicopter. That
What?
was actually an AI generated image. I know it's unbelievable. People thought I'd staged that. I wish I had that kind of thumbnail budget where I'll crash a helicopter
Yes.
just for a thumbnail. But that's an ability. I sent a picture of me free climbing a mountain to my friend a minute ago, and she was like, "Whoa, when were you mountain climbing?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing because it just a generated image." So just testing that. Obviously, I told her right away. I go, "No, that's AI generated. I wish that was me." But that's the test, is that it looks cool enough that I can create really good things and it's replicable. It's got a really good consistency. So I can create multiple images. So it doesn't have to be yourself. You can upload any images or create a character. So if you're doing a children's book or other things where you go, oh, I need a consistent character, it does that. And it's
Nice.
absolutely free. You get 100 images a month and each image gives you 4. So it's actually 400 images. You're not going to need that many pictures of yourself. Like
That's
I
wild.
love looking at pictures of myself too, but I haven't even run out. And the credit, I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to run out of credits? And he goes, hey, you get 100 more in a couple weeks. I was like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing tool. So huge fan of this tool. It really solved a problem for me, which was I can make an amazing AI art of everyone else, but I can never do myself. Now I can finally create great images myself. I love this tool. It's my favorite thing right now.
Fantastic. All right. I'm going to leave a link to this post in chat of this video so that others can see it as well. But I just wanted to share last month when I tried to make this for myself, I failed miserably. My came out just not as I expected. And then, of course, it is loading now. I'm slowing down. Am I slow here, Jonathan?
Yeah, it looks like you're caught in some type of time loop or possibly you're got a low frame rate situation. I don't always know. I always assume it's my internet. I never know for sure.
Today it is my internet. I've got a soul of death going on over here. So, um,
Oh
well,
dear.
while I try to find that photo and I catch up, why don't you tell people how to connect with you?
The best place to connect with me, you could just Google Serve Noah Master. Every single search result for the first 10 pages is me. If you want to connect with me, make sure to follow me on LinkedIn. That's where I post the most content, the most videos. That's where that post was from. I'm very responsive there. I get so many emails a day that I use like 3 AI filters, and still it's hundreds of emails a day to filter through. But LinkedIn, it's not so busy. That's where I most likely respond. And you'll see a lot of content from me. And that's really what I'm focused on this year as a major part of my business. It's just a big opportunity. A lot of cool things are happening on LinkedIn. And just like that's where we were chatting, right? You sent me a message, I responded within a minute. So that's the best place to chat with me.
Okay, LinkedIn's the way to. Email is a little lag. Um, when I reached out on this episode, you were instant with LinkedIn. Just love that about you. So before we go, I wanted to do my first attempt at AI of myself. This is what something put together. Epic failure, but eventually I got to this point, and I love this photo. It makes no sense whatsoever, but and it looks nothing like me. But I've got to go try out your method. That looked really cool. So appreciate you sharing that with the audience and all your knowledge drops today. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I had a really good time.
Awesome. Great to see. All right, folks, we'll see you next Tuesday when we'll have a new guest on. Until then, keep on recruiting and we'll see you out there. Take care.